Last day in the class we discussed the structure and functions of DNA and we started to discuss RNA. First I will recall some basic stuff regarding RNA, then we can move to the rest. You know that RNA is a polymeric organic compound. Then the monomer, what's the monomer of RNA? Monomer of RNA is ribonucleotide. You know that nucleotide consists of three main components. Those are pentose sugar, nitrogenous base and phosphate group. In RNA, you know, we discuss actually pentose sugar is ribose. So here if you consider the structure of ribonucleotide, so it's like this. Imagine this is the ribose sugar. Here, as we said in the class, nitrogenous base is attached to the, imagine this is a nitrogenous base. It is attached to the first carbon atom of ribose sugar group. This is the second carbon atom. At this corner it has a third carbon atom. This is the fourth carbon atom and this is the fifth carbon atom. Phosphate group is attached to the fifth carbon atom. So this is simply a ribonucleotide. You know, the nitrogenous bases found in RNA are of four types. There are four types of nitrogenous bases in RNA. Those are adenine, guanine, cytosine and uracil. DNA consists of thymine. Instead of thymine, RNA has uracil. Therefore, based on the variation of these nitrogenous bases, we can say there are four different types of ribonucleotides. Those are simply the ribonucleotides which contain adenine as a nitrogenous base can be termed as adenosine monophosphate. Likewise, if the ribonucleotide has guanine, they can be termed as guanosine monophosphate. Ribonucleotides with cytosine can be termed as cytidine monophosphate. Likewise, ribonucleotides with uracil as the nitrogenous base can be termed as uridine monophosphate. Adenosine monophosphate, guanosine monophosphate, cytidine monophosphate and uridine monophosphate. So therefore, based on the variation of nitrogenous bases, there are four different types of ribonucleotides. You know these four different types of ribonucleotides bound together by phosphodiester bond. A large number of these ribonucleotides join together by phosphodiester bonds and form a linear unbranched structure. It is known as polynucleotide. The linear unbranched structure is known as polynucleotide. We said earlier, one DNA molecule consists of two such polynucleotides, but RNA molecule consists of only one polynucleotide. So it's a single-stranded biopolymer. Okay. Here we said in DNA consists of two strands like this. Imagine this is a small part of DNA. DNA consists of two strands. Here, therefore, in DNA, there are complementary base pairing. There are complementary base pairing and form hydrogen bonds. Hydrogen bonds are formed in between complementary nitrogenous bases of two strands. But we said RNA has a single polynucleotide strand. Therefore, can we observe hydrogen bonds or complementary base pairing in between two strands? Can't. But only some RNA molecules have complementary base pairing and form hydrogen bonds. Okay, we will come to that later. Basically, there are three types of RNA. As mRNA, it is known as messenger RNA. Then tRNA, known as transfer RNA. These are in this note, in your note. Look at those. And third type is rRNA. That is ribosomal RNA. Messenger RNA, transfer RNA and ribosomal RNA. Okay. Among these three types, this mRNA doesn't contain complementary base pairing. It's a linear molecule. We can discuss it later. It doesn't contain complementary base pairing. Therefore, no hydrogen bonds. But if you consider tRNA and rRNA, there are complementary base pairing. There is complementary base pairing and hydrogen bonds are formed. Therefore, we can say in RNA, no interstrand. Interstrand means hydrogen bonds are not formed in between strands. Therefore, we can say there are no interstrand hydrogen bonds, but within the same molecule or within the same polynucleotide or in between two RNA molecules, there may be a complementary base pairing and hydrogen bonds. Got that? Within the same molecule or within the same polynucleotide or in between two RNA molecules, there may be complementary base pairing and form hydrogen bonds. As we said, within this tRNA and rRNA, there are complementary base pairing. and form hydrogen bonds. So how it happens? So it's like this. Here, so if you consider a tRNA molecule, so it's like this. We can discuss the structure again later. If you consider tRNA molecule, it's formed by folding of single polynucleotide as a 3-loop structure. Here you can observe there are 3 loops. So one end is 3' end, other end is 5' end of the polynucleotide. So here within the same molecule, there are complementary base pairing like this, and form hydrogen bonds. Imagine these are the hydrogen bonds. Let's say these are hydrogen bonds. These are hydrogen bonds. Complementary base pairing happen. But if you consider mRNA molecule is a linear molecule like this. You can observe it in this diagram as well. You have this diagram in your note. You can go through this. So mRNA is a linear molecule, no hydrogen bonds and no complementary base pairing. But if you consider rRNA, so here this is tRNA, this is mRNA. If you consider rRNA molecule, so it has irregular structure like this, irregular complex structure like this. So within the same polynucleotide, again there are hydrogen bonds. Here it's like this. Imagine these are the hydrogen bonds. Here these are the hydrogen bonds. Okay, that's why we said sometimes there may be complementary base pairing and form hydrogen bonds within the same molecule. Okay, and also we said sometimes in between 2 RNA molecules there may be complementary base pairing. Such a base pairing can be observed in between tRNA and mRNA during protein synthesis. So during protein synthesis, tRNA bind to mRNA through complementary base pairing. Okay, how this complementary base pairing happens? Then in DNA, guanine pairs with cytosine. Then how many hydrogen bonds are formed? Guanine binds to cytosine by 3 hydrogen bonds. Same thing happens in RNA as well. But here there is no timing. Therefore, during complementary base pairing, adenine of the polynucleotide of adenine of RNA bind to uracil with 2 hydrogen bonds. Adenine binds to uracil with 2 hydrogen bonds. This is how complementary base pairing occurs. So this complementary base pairing is important to maintain the 3-dimensional shape of RNA, and it involves in its function. 3-dimensional shape is important, or 3-dimensional shape facilitates its function. Okay, then we will move to these 3 types of RNA one by one. First we will discuss about mRNA here, and also how this before that how these RNA are synthesized. RNA is synthesized by DNA actually during protein synthesis. So it's like this. Then here during protein synthesis, actually a single gene or a gene of DNA, produce RNA. Then all these 3 types, mRNA, tRNA, rRNA, all are synthesized from different genes of DNA. Then all 3 types of RNA involve in producing a protein. Okay, we can discuss it. Okay, first, if you consider mRNA is a linear molecule. As you observe here, mRNA is a linear molecule. One end is 5' end and the other end is 3' end. It's a linear molecule. And therefore, there are no complementary base pairing and hydrogen bonds. And here, among these 3 types of RNA, mRNA is the least abundant type of RNA within the cell. Okay, so then a single gene of DNA involved in producing this mRNA. We can discuss how these RNA are synthesized after this. Then you will understand this better. Okay, what may be the functions of this mRNA? Then mRNA copies the genetic information stored in DNA as a specific sequence of nitrogenous base. We discuss in DNA, genetic information is stored specifically in genes as a specific nitrogenous base sequence or nucleotide sequence. When producing mRNA, that stored genetic information as a specific nucleotide sequence or nitrogenous base sequence is given to mRNA or is copied to mRNA. Okay, that's the first function. We can discuss it further. Then after copying that mRNA molecule transport into cytosol through nuclear pores. So here, imagine this is a diagram of a transverse section of nucleus. We can discuss about the structure of nucleus later when we are discussing cell organelles. Until then, remember like this, nucleus is surrounded by outer membrane. It is known as nuclear envelope. Within the nuclear envelope, there are pores like this. Those are known as nuclear pores. Inner to the nuclear envelope, this gelatinous structure or gelatinous matrix or gelatinous structure is known as nuclear plasm. Then within the nuclear plasm, DNA is arranged as chromatin. We can discuss the structure of chromatin later. Until then, remember, DNA molecule together with different proteins, mainly histone proteins, and DNA together with mainly together with histone proteins, and arranged as chromatin. Until we are discussing the structure of chromatin, let's memorize like this. Chromatin are long thread-like structures. Those are actually extended versions of chromosomes. You know about chromosomes. If you uncoil chromosome and extend and get the full length version of chromosome, it's a chromatin. It's like this. You can discuss those later. Anyhow, here a gene of DNA synthesize mRNA, then mRNA carry or transport the genetic information copied from DNA into cytosol. During this, then the DNA found in this chromatin of nucleus produce mRNA, then it carries the genetic information into cytosol. Okay, that means mRNA carries genetic information. In other words, we can say mRNA carries the genetic information from nuclear plasm to site of protein synthesis through these nuclear pores. That's the second function. It is given in your note. Okay, then we will move to tRNA, the second type of RNA. Here, among these three types of RNA, tRNA is the smallest type. It's the smallest type of RNA. Okay, then, but tRNA has a folded structure. You can observe in this diagram, tRNA is a folded structure. It has three loops, and we said it has complementary base pairing and form hydrogen bonds. So what's the function of tRNA? tRNA also produced, here look at this, tRNA also produced by DNA of chromatin found inside the nucleus. A different gene in DNA, we said some genes involved in producing mRNA, different other genes may involve in producing tRNA. This tRNA produced by DNA inside nucleus, and tRNA also transport into cytoplasm through these nuclear pores. You can observe this in this diagram. Then here look at this. What's the function of tRNA? This tRNA transport amino acids found in this cytosol to site of protein synthesis. What's the site of protein synthesis? It is ribosome. Here this again tRNA transport amino acids from cytosol to site of protein synthesis called ribosomes. That's the function of tRNA. Okay. Then about the third type of RNA, rRNA. rRNA is the most abundant type of RNA in the cell. You can observe it has a irregular structure. Hydrogen bonds involved in maintaining this irregular structure. It has complementary base pairing. Here specifically, here look at this. We said mRNA and tRNA are synthesized by DNA of chromatin found inside the nuclear plasm or nucleus here. Inside the nucleus there is a dark staining region. It is known as nucleolus. We can discuss this later. Nucleolus also consists of densely packed chromatin. That means it has DNA. This DNA or the chromatin of nucleolus specifically involved in producing rRNA. In other words, these rRNA are synthesized specifically inside the nucleolus. You can observe it here. Then inside the nucleolus, rRNA bind to proteins and form ribosomal subunits. If you consider ribosome, there are two subunits as large subunit and the small subunit. Then these rRNA bind to proteins and form large and small subunits of ribosomes. Then through nuclear pores, they also transport into the cytosol. So what's the function of rRNA? So the rRNA provides sites for the assembly of polypeptides. That means, in other words, we said earlier, ribosome is the site of protein synthesis. During protein synthesis, according to the genetic information carried by mRNA, during protein synthesis, according to the genetic information carried by mRNA, amino acids are joined together by peptide bonds and form a polypeptide. That means, in other words, this polypeptide is formed on the ribosome. So the ribosome is formed by combining rRNA and proteins. Therefore, we can simply say rRNA provides site for the assembly of polypeptide. Okay, that's about 3 types of RNA. Then simply we will discuss actually how this DNA and how these genes involved in producing this RNA, simply about RNA synthesis. So it's like this. Here you have the note, go through the note. RNA synthesis is explained in the note. Copy the note that I sent to the WhatsApp group onto your notebook and draw these diagrams as well. It's a summary of the structure and functions of 3 different types of RNA. Okay, we said the RNAs are produced during protein synthesis. What happened? We say gene of DNA, a gene of DNA synthesize RNA. 3 different types of RNA are produced by 3 different genes, 3 different types of genes in DNA. Then these 3 different types of RNA involved in producing a protein. The first step of protein synthesis, that means producing an RNA from gene of DNA, is known as transcription. This is known as transcription. Synthesizing a protein from RNA is known as translation. Here we can discuss about translation process when we are discussing the protein synthesis process. It's a complex process we can discuss in detail. We can discuss it in detail under molecular biology. Here, for the understanding of synthesizing RNA and the functions of RNA, first we will here discuss about transcription process, that means synthesis of RNA. We said RNA synthesized from a gene of DNA. So it's like this. Imagine this is a DNA molecule, a part of DNA molecule. Imagine these are hydrogen bonds. You have this diagram in your note. Look at that. Okay, let's say for our easiness, this is a gene that provides genetic information. This is a gene that provides genetic information to synthesize a protein. Actually, gene is bigger than this, it's longer than this. For our easiness, we will consider this small part of DNA as a gene. Okay, then here, other than DNA, RNA synthesis or transcription needs energy. And also it is catalyzed by an enzyme called RNA polymerase. RNA polymerase. We can discuss about RNA polymerase. And also it needs free ribonucleotides. You know that monomer of RNA is ribonucleotides. Those are needed to synthesize RNA. Those are given in your note. Look at them. Okay, what happens first? Then this particular gene that involved in producing the RNA, or the gene that involved in providing genetic information to synthesize a protein, should be used here. Here what happens here? First, this double helical structure of gene of DNA is unwinded and 2 strands of DNA are separated. Double helical structure is unwinded. We can say therefore gene of DNA is opened up and 2 strands are separated. Remember, unwinding happens only in that particular gene that involves in producing that particular RNA. So it's like this. After unwinding, so it's like this. Imagine this is one strand and this is the other strand of that gene. Here, other parts of the gene still remains the helical structure. You can observe other parts of gene still remains the helical structure. This is the open up region. 2 strands are separated. Here imagine these are the nitrogenous bases which are now exposed. Imagine these are the exposed nitrogenous bases. Here let's say the nitrogenous bases in order of these strands are T, A, C. There is no particular exact order. You know, complementary base pairing can be observing these 2 strands of DNA. Okay, here as in this diagram you can see two strands are separated. Now remember here, among these two strands, only one strand acts as the DNA template in synthesizing RNA. So what is this DNA template? It's actually a mold which carries the correct genetic information in synthesizing a protein. So therefore, in other words, we can say among these two strands, only one strand has the correct genetic information to synthesize the RNA and the protein. Therefore, only that strand acts as the DNA template. So therefore, in this diagram, among these two strands, we will say here this strand acts as the DNA template. Okay, we said RNA synthesis is catalyzed by the enzyme RNA polymerase. Now what happens? This RNA polymerase enzyme, imagine this is RNA polymerase. Let's say this is RNA polymerase. This RNA polymerase enzyme here, this enzyme binds to the beginning of the DNA template. So what's the function of RNA polymerase? Simply we can say it catalyzes the synthesis of new RNA strand in front of template. What's the specific function? So simply we can say specific function of RNA polymerase is it catalyzes the binding of free ribonucleotides with complementary nitrogenous bases to these nucleotides of DNA template. Again, it catalyzes the binding of free ribonucleotides with complementary nitrogenous bases to these nucleotides of DNA template. That's the function of RNA polymerase. That means here free ribonucleotides are needed to synthesize the new RNA strand. We imagine these are the free ribonucleotides. Let's say these are free ribonucleotides. You know that there are 4 different types of ribonucleotides. Ribonucleotides containing adenine, guanine, cytosine and uracil. They are used. So as we said, what happens here? RNA polymerase catalyzes the binding of these free ribonucleotides to nitrogenous bases of DNA template. Let's say it's like this. Imagine this base is adenine. Let's say this. Then it has this is adenine. Then this is adenine and this is thymine. Okay. Then here it's like this. When thymine is present at the beginning of the gene of DNA template, what happens? RNA polymerase catalyzes the binding of ribonucleotide containing adenine to the DNA template. So it's like this again. When thymine is present as a nitrogenous base, RNA polymerase catalyzes the binding of ribonucleotide with adenine to the DNA template. Therefore here ribonucleotide with adenine is bound to the template. When there is adenine in the template, ribonucleotide with uracil is added to the template. Then when there is cytosine, the ribonucleotide with guanine is bound to the DNA template. Likewise, RNA polymerase binds free ribonucleotides with complementary nitrogenous bases to the DNA template. Then by binding this, RNA polymerase moves along the DNA template from one end to the opposite end. While it moves, it catalyzes the binding of these free ribonucleotides. Therefore, here, due to the action of RNA polymerase, free ribonucleotides like this are aligned in front of the DNA template. Here, the complementary base pairing happens here. Then, when there is guanine here, ribonucleotide with cytosine is added. Then, here like this, guanine, adenine, uracil, adenine, uracil like this. Okay, then, these ribonucleotides are joined together by phosphodiester bonds. These ribonucleotides are joined together by phosphodiester bonds. Actually, these phosphodiester bonds are formed while the RNA polymerase moves along the gene. Here you can observe now, the new RNA strand is synthesized. This is the RNA strand which is newly synthesized, new RNA strand. It may be an mRNA, rRNA or tRNA. So then three different regions or 3 different genes in DNA involved in producing 3 different types of RNA like this. Okay, then here this RNA is temporarily attached to this DNA template through hydrogen bonds that are found in between these complementary nitrogenous bases. Then those hydrogen bonds are broken down and this RNA is detached from this DNA template. Then through the nucleopore, it can move to the cytosol. If it is an mRNA and tRNA, they move to the cytosol. If it is an rRNA molecule within the nucleolus, rRNA convert into ribosomal subunits. We mentioned it earlier. Okay, how it happens like this? Here, imagine this is the open up gene region. This open up gene region. It's like this. Then RNA is separated from the gene and move to the cytosol. So it's like this. Then after detaching, this gene again reform the double helical structure. This is how RNA synthesized. Now go to the function or recall the function of mRNA again. Now you can understand it better. We said mRNA copies the genetic information stored in gene as a specific nitrogenous base sequence. Here you can, if you look at this, you can clearly observe how it happens. Imagine this is the gene we said. Here in this gene, genetic information is stored as a specific nucleotide sequence or nitrogenous base sequence. When produced, imagine this RNA is an mRNA. When producing this mRNA, the genetic information stored in this gene as a specific nitrogenous base sequence is copied to this RNA, copied to this mRNA as a complementary nitrogenous base sequence. That complementary nitrogenous base sequence acts as a genetic information to synthesize protein. I think now you can understand. So in other words, simply I can say as a summary, when producing the mRNA, the genetic information stored in gene is copied to mRNA as a complementary nitrogenous base sequence. Likewise, from other regions of DNA, rRNA and tRNA are also synthesized. So that's about RNA synthesis, and that's about RNA. Okay. In the note, you can observe there is a comparison between DNA and RNA. Actually, there are differences. So there are structural differences and also there are functional differences. If you consider structural differences, first one we can say DNA is a double-stranded molecule with a double helical structure, but RNA is a single-stranded molecule. That's the first structural difference. Secondly, DNA has adenine, guanine, cytosine and thymine as nitrogenous bases, but RNA has uracil instead of thymine. That difference can be also considered as a chemical difference. Okay, then third one, DNA has deoxyribose as the pentose sugar, but RNA has ribose as the pentose sugar. It's a third structural difference, and also that last difference can also be considered as chemical differences. Therefore, among these three differences, three structural differences, last two regarding the nitrogenous bases and pentose sugar can also consider as chemical differences. Remember that. Okay, that's about nucleic acids, DNA and RNA. Finally, we can discuss about some other nucleotides that are not found in nucleic acids. So what are these nucleotides? The nucleotides that are not found in nucleic acids, that means DNA and RNA. Here we discuss four basic types. Those are, first one is ATP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. It is a universal energy carrier. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate. It is universal energy carrier. Here we do not discuss about these nucleotides in detail. Just remember the name and the function. That is enough here. We can discuss this again later. We may discuss in the future lessons. Okay, ATP is the first one. Second one, NAD plus. So when you are writing NAD, write with the plus charge because it exists like that. NAD stands for nicotinamide, adenine, dinucleotide. Nicotinamide, adenine, dinucleotide. So here this nicotinamide is a nitrogenous base which is not found in nucleic acids. Remember that. So here and also here this is a dinucleotide. That means two nucleotides join together and form this compound. It remains as its plus charge. So it's like this simply. Imagine this is one nucleotide. Let's say this is the nitrogenous base. Let's say this is the nitrogenous base and this is the first carbon atom. At this point it should have second carbon atom, third, fourth, and this is the fifth carbon atom at this point. Then this is the phosphate group. And imagine this is nicotinamide nitrogenous base. This is nicotinamide. So this is the first nucleotide. Then the adjoining nucleotide is like this. Here, we said two nucleotides join together. So this is the fifth carbon atom. Fourth, third, second, first has adenine nitrogenous base. Okay, this is the adenine nitrogenous base. These two nucleotides are joined together by a bond formed between phosphate groups. So this combined structure is known as nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. No need to memorize the structure, but to get an idea, just look at this. Okay, then this NAD, what are the functions of NAD? NAD acts as an electron carrier, and also NAD plus act as a coenzyme. So what's a coenzyme? So we can discuss about coenzymes when we are discussing enzymes actually. So those are, or coenzymes are non-proteinous organic compounds which increase the activity of enzymes. We can discuss those later. Until then, just memorize that like that. So what are the functions of NAD plus again, which act as an electron carrier and also act as a coenzyme. In addition to that, NAD plus act as an oxidizing agent in cellular respiration. Okay, that's the second type. Third type is NADP plus. It stands for nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide phosphate. It has an additional phosphate group, same structure with an additional phosphate group. Also remember, it has a plus charge. Here this NADP plus also acts as a coenzyme and also it's a electron carrier. In addition to that, NADP plus, here there's a basic mistake, there's a small mistake in your resource book. Actually NADPH acts as a reducing agent in photosynthesis. It should be NADPH, not NADP plus. NADPH acts as a reducing agent in photosynthesis. So what is this NADPH actually? NADP plus can accept H plus ions and electrons and can convert into NADPH. It's like this. This is not balanced. So anyhow, NADPH, actually one NADP plus molecule can accept 2 H plus ions and 2 electrons and form NADPH and H plus ions. This NADPH acts as a reducing agent in photosynthesis, not NADP plus. We can discuss it when we are discussing photosynthesis. Okay, that's the third type. Fourth type is FAD. FAD stands for flavin adenine dinucleotide. Okay, again remember here, flavin is another nitrogenous base which is not found in nucleic acids, and also this is also dinucleotide like this. But here remember, there is no plus charge in writing FAD. Okay, then FAD also acts as a coenzyme and also it's an electron carrier. So this is the end of chemical basis of life. As an next part we can discuss cellular basis of life.